school student teaching in an ESL classroom, which is a classroom for students who do not speak English as their first language. And the plot twist is that the students are all online right now. So I am going to be learning how to navigate online teaching. This is my reflection on my first week of student teaching. This week, I officially completed my first full week of student teaching. This week was a 4-day week because Monday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So this week I just finished week 4, which is crazy because it means that I am halfway done. So I just finished week 5 of student teaching. So I just finished week 6, which is crazy. So tomorrow is my last day of student teaching, and I actually missed filming a video about last week, and this is why. So I can't believe that my first student teaching placement is basically over. So to really get a picture of my full first week, we have to start on Sunday night. So Sunday night, I got back to school. I was the only one here, and I was super nervous. I was a mess. I was nervous to go into a high school. I haven't been in a high school since I was in high school. I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to find my classroom. I had all these irrational fears, and luckily, by Monday morning, they were gone, and I was ready to take on this very first week. But the best thing that happened this week is we found out on Friday that the students are going back to school hybrid starting February 1st. And it means that the students are coming to school hybrid starting on Monday, which I am excited to get to see them. And this week was really exciting because I actually had students in person for the first time. I had a Zoom meeting, and 5 out of about 70 students showed up to it. Online learning is hard. It's hard to get these students engaged, and it's hard to get them motivated. In terms of engaging the students and getting them to come to Zooms, I tried posting the Zooms the day before and sending them out in an email, and I still only had 5 students show up, so I don't really think that's going to be the most effective way. When I just post these videos and the students watch them, with some of the assignments, what the work that they turn in, it's obvious that they didn't get it. There's a lot of planning for what's coming next week because there's so many logistics when it comes to WIDA testing and who can test when, and especially when they have to be 6 feet apart when they're testing. It is complicated. However, my 7th grade period, they really like to test the boundaries, and they like to kind of get their phones out and be on them, and they do put them away, most of them, when I ask them to, but it's just kind of a habit that they need to break. I'm still having trouble with my one student who just does not want to put her phone away, but at least when I ask her to go sit somewhere else in the room, at least she does, so she's not distracting other students, which I think is really important. My goal for the overall arching goal for the semester, I have decided is I need to get these students engaged. It's okay to be afraid, but leave fear at the door and walk in with courage. And I also got to teach my first lesson, which was a video lesson, another lesson on failure and how we grow from failure. I think the biggest thing for me was just being clear with your directions, because students are reading this information and you're not there to explain it to them. You have to make sure that you're really, really clear on the directions that you are giving them. Something else that I did this week is I started lesson planning in for the whole entire week, so more of a block plan, which is something that I haven't really done before, so that was a cool thing to get to see how it's really important to look ahead at the whole week. One, that formative assessment is crucial. And the last thing I learned is that students need second chances. because when these students are doing poorly on these assessments and turning in assignments, they really need the opportunity to go back and make changes, because ultimately that's how they learn. But it's going to be crazy because they're going to be testing practically every day with iStep and WIDA, and so I'm going to have some students while other students are testing, and it's just going to be chaotic, but I am ready for the challenge. Students really care about these tests, and they are nervous because we had Zoom calls and more students showed up than usual, which just shows me that they care about these tests and they want to be prepared for them as much as possible. So my lessons went really well, and overall I think the class really does want to learn. I learned that you have to communicate with students, and you have to want to form that relationship with them, or they're not going to want to form it with you. On Wednesday, my teacher wasn't there, so I was there with a sub. So basically, like, I was the one completely in charge, which was different, but I really liked it. I liked having the power, kind of just to be able to, like, I don't know, it's just different, and it really gives you like more of an accurate representation, I guess, of what it's really going to be like when you are the teacher in the classroom. And students started WIDA testing this week, and you could just tell like they were stressed out about it. So I think something that I learned is just to make sure that with all testing, like standardized or not, that you're just making the atmosphere as like calm as you can, and just reassuring your students and not putting like a ton of pressure on them, but just like asking them to do their best. I guess my goals for next week is just to continue to do my best, and this is why. So I ended up going ice skating and I fell and I fractured my wrist in 3 places, and then I ended up having surgery on it. And so it was the craziest week possible for student teaching. But I was still able to really accomplish what I needed to in terms of students finishing their final papers and all of that. And I definitely learned that working ahead pays off, because I had already 2 lessons basically done, and all I needed to do was basically just upload them online. So I was really, really grateful for that, and there's definitely benefits to working ahead. And students turned in their final research papers to me, and I got those graded, and that was just a really cool experience, like looking back on the lessons that I taught for each component of the paper, and kind of just reflecting on, okay, how would I do this differently now that I know kind of what students understood based off of what they wrote. So I think just overall the things I learned during this student teaching experience, in terms of like things that I wasn't really expecting to learn, like going beyond just like how to teach students material, how to teach English as a second language, how to give tests and all of that. I think for me, it's just that like those relationships matter, and it's always okay to give students a second chance. Like, I think forming a relationships with students helps you to realize what kind of a person they are, and when you do that, you recognize that they're not perfect, and I'm not perfect either, and so I want to give them those second chances, just like I want them to give me second chances, because as a new teacher especially, I'm going to make lots of mistakes, and I just want to always be able to admit those mistakes to my students, and for them to feel comfortable admitting their mistakes to me and feel like they have a chance to try again. It was the craziest student teaching experience ever. I mean, things that happened during the student teaching experience. I taught during a worldwide pandemic. I taught entirely virtually. I taught on a hybrid schedule. I had a snow day thrown in there. I taught during WIDA testing. I taught during iStep testing. And I taught during a broken bone surgery, fiasco. So I feel like leaving this student teaching placement, if I can make it through teaching through all of those things that happened in 8 short weeks, I feel like I am ready to conquer this second placement, and I'm really excited to get into the elementary classroom.